Alright, so now we're dealing with more complicated problems, giving us various things. So for this first one, it says a triangle has height 5 centimeters and base length 8 centimeters. Find its area. So again, we know that the area is equal to 1/2 base times height. It gives us height and it gives us base. So all that means is we can come in. All right, so the area is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. Well, my base is 8, my height is 5. 1/2 times 8 is 4. I move the 5 into it. All right, so 4 times 5 is 20. So that would be 20 centimeters squared would be my area of this triangle. For the second one, it tells us that it has a height of 11 and a base of 10. Again, we have that the area is 1/2 base times height. So again, we can come in and say, all right, my area is 1/2 whatever the base is times whatever the height is. And my base is 10 and my height is 11. So just come back in and fill those in later. All right, so then go from left to right. We have 1/2 times 10, so half of 10 would be 5 times 11. So 5 times 11, well, that's just 55. In this case, that would be inches squared. So for the third one, we have that it's giving us an area. So we have the area this time, so that means we're going to be finding either the base or the height. And it tells us that the base length is 8 meters. So that means we're looking for the height. So once again, we can come in, and since this time we don't have the area, we can put the area in parentheses, put the base and the height in parentheses. All right, so coming back through, all right, so what is the area of this triangle? Well, the area is 24 meters squared. All right, my base, well, my base says right there, 8 meters. And my height, well, that's what it's asking for, so that's what I have to find. So as we continue to solve, we can simplify down. So we have 1/2 times 8. So 1/2 times 8, well, that would be, keep entering 4, so that would be 4h. So now again, we're solving for h, that means we have to get rid of that 4. Since we're multiplying it, that means we have to divide. So divide both sides by 4, because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So that leaves us that h is equal to 24 divided by 4, which is, of course, 6 meters. So the height of this particular triangle is going to be 6 meters. All right, so for the last one, it tells us that a triangle, again, has an area. So it's giving us the area, so it's asking for either the height or the base, and a height of 4 feet. So that means we're looking for its base, which is what it's asking us, and find its base. All right, so again, we know what the area is equal to 1/2 base times height. So as we come in, we can replace all the variables with parentheses that we can fill in later. So again, coming through, we have my area. What's the area? Well, the area is 16 feet squared. And that is equal to 1/2 times the base. Well, we're not given the base, we're looking for the base, so that has to be filled in with the b. And the height, well, the height is 4. So now we can come in and simplify. Well, we can't deal with that base. We can't say, hey, I can't take 1/2 of 4. So what's 1/2 of 4? Well, 1/2 of 4 is just 2b. Dropping the b because we haven't done anything to it. Now again, we're solving for b, so we have to get b by itself. So to solve for b, we have to do the opposite of what we're doing to the b. So since we're multiplying to the b, we have to divide to the b. So we have to divide by the same thing we're multiplying, and what we do to one side, we have to do to the other, so that means we have to divide the 16 by 2 as well. So 16 by 2 is, of course, 8, so that means that the base is, of course, 8 feet. So again, all we're doing was plugging it into the formula that the area is equal to 1/2 base times height. If it gives us an area, then we're looking for the base or the height. If it gives us the base and the height, then we're looking for the area. Alright, so now all the times they're giving us in the picture saying, hey, this is the area or this is the base. Sometimes it gives us a diagram and labeling it. So what's important part about diagrams is knowing what's important information and what's not. So if we look at the first triangle, we can see we have one line that is perpendicular to a side. So that means that's going to be the height. So that means that 7 is automatically my height because no other line is perpendicular to a side. Remember, the height has to be perpendicular to a side. All right, so if that's my height, then that means my base has to be the side it's perpendicular to. So that means it goes from here all the way across to here. Well, now I see a problem because I have two different numbers labeling that side. But those two numbers are talking about the division caused by the height. So on one side of the height, I have 6 inches. On the other side, I have 10 inches. So if on one side I have 6 inches and the other side I have 10, my entire base is going to be those two added together. So that'd be 6 plus 10, which is just 16. So my base is going to be 16. So in this case, my base, base is equal to 16. All right, so again, we have that the area is equal to 1/2 base times height. So again, all we have to do is come in and fill it in. For all of these, we'll be looking for the area. That's what it says. Find the area of each triangle. So that's 1/2 whatever my base is times whatever my height is. Well, my base is 16 and my height is 7. So going from left to right, I have 1/2 times 16, which is 7, times 8, because we're multiplying that 1/2 of 16 by 7. So 1/2 of 16 is 8, and we're multiplying it by 7. All right, so 8 times 7 is, of course, 56. So in this case, the area would be 56 inches squared. In the second figure, we have the height and the base and a side. Again, remember, the height is always perpendicular to the base. So we have 25 as the height, or 2.5 as the height, and we have 11 being the base because that's what it's perpendicular to. So we can come in and fill in the equation. So A is equal to 1/2 base, which is 11, times height, which is 2.5. All right, so we have that 11 divided by 2, or 11 times 1/2, is of course going to be 5.5 times 2.5. So we can easily solve that, being being 13.75 feet squared. So that would be what the area would be. All right, so for the slash triangle, we are told that we have the height. So this one's just giving us straight up the height and the base. It's not having us figure things out. So that means we have, all right, so the area is equal to 1/2 the base, which in this case is 12, times the height, which is 15. So 1/2 of 12, well, that would be 6 times 15. So 6 times 15 would be, of course, 90. So we have that the area of the last one would be 90 centimeters squared.